Now, the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has been speaking as well. Our Kyiv correspondent Gulliver Cragg was at that press conference. He joins me now for more. Gulliver, what else did Volodymyr Zelensky have to say?
Well, he struck a tone, and I'm sure that this was something that he had decided in advance, of prudent optimism. I think he didn't want to let himself get carried away with congratulating the Ukrainian negotiating team too much or presenting this as a great success, but he said, I think that this is a step forward. He said that it was the first, we're talking of course about this meeting between the Ukrainian delegation and the American delegation in Saudi Arabia. Volodymyr Zelensky himself did not take part, but both he and President Trump, he said, were in touch with their teams respectively throughout. He said that he thought it was a big step in the right direction for Ukrainian-American relations. He said that Ukrainians don't have very much confidence that Russia would abide by a ceasefire, but that, and I can quote him on this, he said, we are not going to play the Russian game, which is a game of trying to convince the world that we, the Ukrainians, are the obstacle to peace. We are showing ourselves to be absolutely open to peace initiatives and say that we will agree to a ceasefire. And now the ball is in Russia's court, as Marco Rubio himself said. Volodymyr Zelensky was asked about the details of the agreement. He said there were various things, of course, that were discussed that he can't reveal at this stage, but he insisted that what was in the communique was the major substance of what was discussed in Jeddah, and he said that the Americans had promised to put pressure on Russia if Russia does not agree to this ceasefire, and that pressure could take the form of increased sanctions against Moscow, or it could take the form of increased aid to Kyiv.
Gulliver, given these latest developments, what kind of reaction has there been in Ukraine to what now could be a possible ceasefire with Russia?
Well, the reaction to the meeting in Jeddah is broadly extremely positive, but not really so much because people think there's really going to be a ceasefire. People I've been talking to here in central Kyiv, none of them said they really believed that the Russians would accept the deal. They think the Russians will refuse, but that's also a win for Ukraine in a sense, because Ukraine will have proved that the Russians can't be trusted and that the Russians are the obstacle to peace. The whole problem on the 28th of February with that disastrous meeting in the Oval Office between Volodymyr Zelensky and Donald Trump was that Donald Trump and his Vice President J.D. Vance were, whether or not in a premeditated way or simply, on the spur of the moment, clearly trying to present Zelensky and Ukraine as the obstacle to peace. That was the, primary thing that had to be corrected. And of course, American defense assistance to Ukraine and intelligence sharing had to be renewed. That was the main objective of the Ukrainian team in Saudi Arabia yesterday. And that objective clearly was achieved with flying colors, one has to say. It was resumed immediately yesterday evening.
Gulliver, thank you for that. France 24's Gulliver Cragg reporting there from Kyiv.